Daniel Bryan celebrating at the end of WrestleMania 30 as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion is one of the most iconic moments in the company's history. But what if I told you Bryan himself wasn't exactly a fan of the event? Surprised? Well, we have a lot more where that came from. I'm Rick Ucchino, and as we celebrate Daniel Bryan's 40th birthday, let's take a look back at 5 backstage stories you might not know about. Number 5, Daniel Bryan once confronted Triple H after a match was stopped. Now, Daniel is known for his love of wrestling. The former world champion has always competed at the highest level and has hardly ever held back in the ring. His devotion to wrestling, though, has caused him some issues at times as he has suffered multiple injuries over the course of his career. However, there was once a time when one of his matches was stopped. Bryan even took the step of confronting Triple H about it. Now, Daniel was facing Randy Orton in a no disqualification match when Bryan suffered a stinger. It was quite clear that he had been injured in some capacity, but it was not apparent how serious the situation was. The referee got word to call the match off, and Bryan was furious with Triple H for making that decision. He confronted the King of Kings backstage. They even had an argument about it, but Bryan would later admit that he was wrong on that occasion. Number 4, Daniel Bryan always wanted to wrestle Brock Lesnar. Of course, who wouldn't? Brock Lesnar, one of the biggest stars of all time, and Daniel Bryan always wanted to square off against the Beast incarnate. In fact, there was a match planned between the two back in 2014, but due to injuries, Bryan had to withdraw. The two are supposed to face off at SummerSlam for the WWE World title, but John Cena replaced Bryan in the match instead. The beating that Cena took in that match is legendary, and originally it was Bryan who was supposed to get beat down in a similar fashion. However, Bryan, of course, did not give up on his dream of facing Lesnar. After his miraculous return from injury, Bryan turned heel and won the WWE Championship back in 2018, and he and Brock Lesnar would face off at Survivor Series that year. Bryan lost that match, but came out looking much better than any fan thought he would. Maybe someday we'll get another rematch with Lesnar as the heel and Daniel Bryan working as that crowd favorite babyface. But considering both men are currently out of the company, obviously some things will have to change for that to happen. Number 3, Daniel Bryan was distraught after he was let go from WWE. The Nexus invasion of the WWE main roster back in 2010 is probably one of those angles that Daniel Bryan would like to forget about. For him, things went awry as he ended up getting fired from WWE because of his actions during the ringside destruction segment. The Nexus invasion was completely chaotic as the group of wrestlers came out of nowhere and started to demolish whatever or whomever was in their path. At that time, Bryan was still new to WWE. While other Nexus members destroyed different aspects of the ringside area, Bryan used Justin Roberts' own tie to choke him. Now, unfortunately for Bryan, advertisers were not very happy about that, and backstage, management had to take action. Bryan thought the incident would blow over. It did not. Instead, he got a phone call from Vince McMahon learning that he had been released. According to Arn Anderson, Bryan was bewildered about the whole thing and couldn't understand what went wrong. He certainly didn't plan it. It was one of those spur-of-the-moment things, and maybe WWE realized that too, as they rehired him pretty quickly. Number 2, let's talk about Daniel Bryan's win at WrestleMania 30. One of the biggest moments of his career came at WrestleMania 30 when, yes, of course, because of the Yes Movement, he overcame all of the odds to become WWE World Heavyweight Champion. At the end of the show, he beat Triple H, Randy Orton, and Dave Batista in one night to make it happen. The moment to close the show, Daniel holding up both titles as the confetti fell, one of the best moments in WWE history and something that fans look back on very fondly. However, for the former world champion himself, WrestleMania 34 and WrestleMania 35 hold a lot more value. If you will remember Bryan's young fan, Connor, he passed away shortly after WrestleMania 30. His own father also passed away right around the same time, and the superstar's issues with injuries came to the forefront. Instead, Daniel Bryan prefers to focus on the WrestleMania event where he returned from injury, and also when he was able to put Kofi Kingston over in one of the most emotional WrestleMania moments in recent memory. WrestleMania 30 will always be iconic when it comes to Daniel Bryan's accomplishments, but for him, it will not be the one event that he will look back on with the most fondness. And finally, number 1, how about Vince McMahon getting irate over a Daniel Bryan costume change? Daniel Bryan once fell foul of the WWE chairman by not informing him about a change in his wardrobe in advance. Things in WWE, you know it, they have to go a certain way if they are to live up to Vince McMahon's expectations. Most changes in appearance for WWE superstars, including hairstyles and clothes, well, those have to be approved by McMahon before they can go ahead. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. And unfortunately for Bryan, he did not get Vince McMahon's permission ahead of changing his usual entrance jacket to a green one when he was set to face CM Punk for the WWE title at Money in the Bank in 2012. Vince McMahon reportedly furious with Bryan and shouted down to the referee through his earpiece to get him to take the jacket off. McMahon also shouted at Bryan when the latter got backstage, and the superstar, well, of course, never wore that jacket on WWE TV again. Sometimes you'll learn things the hard way. And that is our list for the day. Hope we didn't miss anything. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel for more content like this, plus exclusive interviews and so much more.